I think given the behavior of Iran so far, the actions, not only the rhetoric, the actions that Iran has taken, look, it's trying to de-escalate this fight. I've already talked about the age of Khamenei, their current leader. I think that they will, again, try to find a safe, face-saving way of saying that, Khamenei, for whatever reason, he's stepping aside and he's going to transfer power to the next set of leadership. Again, it's not in Iran's interest at this point to escalate. I'm not surprised that that last round came before the ceasefire. I think, Dan, the next 6 hours are critical. This is such a fluid movement of action, rhetoric, threat. Look at Iran yesterday threatening the Strait of Hormuz. So I think we're going to have to just sort of bide our time, keep watching the reports. In terms of regime change, I think it's going to happen naturally. And honestly, I think for Israel and the United States, putting the pressure and allowing it to happen organically, allowing it to happen naturally, I think the Iranians are going to come to that conclusion on their own. And I think personally, Khamenei, I think he's probably going to come to that conclusion as well, that his time is done. Everything he has fought for the last 3 decades is now sort of gone. And it's time for a new set of leadership.
Profound. Monica, what's also really interesting here is that this is a complete reversal of fortunes for Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Through the last few years of his time in power, he has faced wave after wave of pushback from the Israeli people and intense international condemnation for Israel's conduct during its war in Gaza. Now he emerges seemingly victorious against this most recent Iranian attack. And of course, his own position has also been renewed and revived as a result of this. Certainly what we've also seen in recent years is a complete recalibration of power in the Middle East as well, with the United States acting increasingly harder to push Israel at the center of that recalibration. Where do you think this leaves Netanyahu?
I think Netanyahu comes out as a strong military leader. Strategically, he seems to have done a good job in the sense of most of the threats to Israel have now been severely diminished. We still do not know, by the way, Dan, we have to be very clear about how diminished Iran's nuclear program is. We don't know where the highly enriched uranium is at this point, but definitely Iran is on the run. Like I said, and you said as well, it's trying to de-escalate this fight. Lebanon, Hezbollah has lost power. Assad is out in power in Syria. And by the way, Russia being so preoccupied, it's a typical ally of Syria. Russia and also Iran, its power and influence has been diminished, which means that the United States' power has been influenced, which is, of course, the backer of Israel. So Netanyahu comes out very strong in this because he has managed in a very peculiar way, right, through war, through the use of force, really blatantly for the last 2 years to strengthen Israel's position. The question moving forward, which we cannot answer, would be pure speculation, is how the other Arab states ally with such a strong Israel, a diminished Iran, and will they be able to sort of come to terms with Israel? We saw it happen under the first Trump administration, a cooling of relations, or actually a warming of relations, under the Abraham Accords, and there is talk of an Abraham Accords 2.0. So I think, again, this is something that's going to be happening over the next couple of years, not a matter of weeks or months. We have to see how this conflict, how this war, how these ceasefires in the next 6 hours shake out before we can say anything definitively about what the long-term prospects are. But for the moment, indeed, Israel is safer. And yes, it's because of Netanyahu sort of going and using force so blatantly across its different opponents for the last couple of years.
Indeed, Monica, you make an excellent point here because the Gulf states, Saudi Arabia, the UAE and Qatar have condemned Israel's actions in the region in recent days. And that's also been interesting to watch because, on the other hand, these countries also benefit from an Iran that does not have access to nuclear weapons, of course, and nuclear enrichment. These countries are focusing on economic diversification, lifting up their societies, diversifying their economies, and of course do not want war in their backyard. How much do the Gulf leaders have Israel to thank for that? And ultimately, where do you think this leaves prospects for the grand deal in the region, which would be Saudi Arabia's normalization with Israel? For a long time, the Saudis have said that they're not interested in doing this until they see a firm commitment for a Palestinian state. Do you think this situation changes that position?
Well, that's a really great point, Dan, because Israel is sort of doing everybody's dirty work at this point by sort of diminishing, we don't know how much, again, Iran's nuclear weapon proliferation capability. And we all know that none of those states wanted Iran to have that capability. So Israel did do that job. The question, but then you're also right, that they don't like the manner in which it was done. It was done unilaterally against the violations of the international United Nations Charter. But it's done now. And so then the question is moving forward, will we see a further normalization, or I should just say a normalization of relations between the state of Israel and these Arab nations? It's a question mark, right? And so the question is how does Israel adapt? Again, we're in a strategic interaction here. And diplomacy, we're going to have to stop with the use of force and really start getting our diplomats out and leadership and thinking strategically over the longer term. And you're absolutely right. I was in Oman just a couple of weeks ago. These countries in the Gulf, what they want is economic prosperity. I'm sitting here at the World Economic Forum. They just want their economies to hum and grow, to deal with climate change, and at the same time to have economies that are sort of prosperous and that can help their citizens to thrive. They don't want war. They don't want nuclear proliferation. And so the question is can they come to terms and have a grand bargain, as you said, in order to achieve that? And I still suspend judgment. There's a lot of history here. There's decades and decades of history here that will need to be overcome, and a lot of hurt and pain that's going to have to be answered for in the next couple of years.